All right, welcome back. We're on lesson 3, multiplying decimals by 2 and 3-digit decimals. So, it is easy to multiply whole numbers or decimals with many digits using a calculator and estimation. But what if you don't have a calculator? So, in this lesson, you're going to learn a couple of strategies for breaking decimal multiplication into smaller, simpler problems, like what we did when you guys were in younger grades. Okay, so this is going to be called the distributive property. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this number here, 17, and I'm going to break it up into smaller numbers. So here I'm going to do 13 plus 4, okay? Because smaller numbers are easier to deal with. And because this is still 17, I am going to have to multiply both of those numbers by 4 in order to have 4 times 17. So I can rewrite this as 13 times 4 plus 4 times 4. Okay? Now 13 times 4 is 52, and 4 times 4 is 16. And I can add that together and I get 68. Okay. Now I'm going to break 17 up in a different way. So I'm going to go 10 times 7 times 4. Okay, and I rewrite this as 10 times 4 plus 7 times 4, because I still need to multiply 4 by all of 17. So I have 10 times 4, which is 40, and I have 7 times 4, which is 28. Okay, and now I'm going to put these numbers back together. So I have 68. Okay, notice the same answer. It should be the same answer. But what I'm going to ask you is, which way was easier? So clearly this way, the second way, was easier because dealing with tens, multiples of 10, and multiplying them is much easier than multiplying by 13, right? So mathematicians use this trick all the time. When there are any problems that give the same answer no matter how you do it, they just pick the easiest one to do. Okay? And this is a trick also that you did in younger grades. All right, so now we're going to try this trick with decimals. Okay? So now that we have a little refresher on how this works, what we're going to do is we're going to split this number up in 2 different ways, and we're going to decide which one is easier again. Okay, so the first way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to divide this number up into 4 plus 3/10 times 5/10. Okay, now I rewrite my problem with 5/10 multiplying by both of those numbers. Okay, and now I can just multiply it out. So this is 20. I have 1 decimal place, and this is 15, and I have 2 decimal places, and now I can add these back together. Okay, now I want you to have a look at what if I divided it up like this. So I'm just going to draw a line here so you can see. What if I took 4.3 and made it 3.7 plus 0.6? And I multiplied that by 0.5. Okay, now I'm going to rewrite this. Now, did this help me make this problem easier or not? I would say not. Okay, so even though the numbers are smaller, they are not easier to deal with. So the first way is splitting the numbers is better because the numbers are easier to deal with. And the key is to split the number at its place value. You want to multiply the decimals 1 place value at a time. Okay, so I have the 4 here and the 3/10 here, and then I do them separately, and it makes it way easier. All right, so now I'd like you to try that. Make sure you're dividing them up at their place value. Okay, so pause the video, open your notebook. You're going to need a pencil if you don't have these materials now. Pause the video, go grab them, and do these problems, and then come back. Okay, so I am going to split at the place value. And this would be 1 times 3 plus times 3, okay, and 3, and this is 15 there. Okay, don't forget to count the decimal place value there. Okay, and just checking your answers here. So I have 3 times, I have 0 there, and okay, and then 3 times. Now, does it matter that I didn't put the brackets in? No, because I'm going to go from left to right, and I'm going to use the order of operations, so I do the multiplication problems first. I just like to put decimals in because it helps me organize my own brain. Okay, and there's 2 place values here. So now I'm going to add the hundredths, I'm going to add the tenths, and then I'm going to add the ones. Okay, now I have 2-digit decimals by 2-digit decimals, so I can do this in exactly the same way. So what's happening here first is I'm going to divide these into their place value. So I'm just going to go 4 plus 1/10 times 2 decimal 3. Okay, and what's happening here is I now can write it as 4 times 2 decimal 3 plus 1/10 times 2 decimal 3. Okay, this might be easy for you to do, but what I can do next is now I'm going to split this up. That looks exactly the same as this kind of problem, so I can split it up even more. So I go 4 times, and I'm going to split these at the place value. 2 plus 3/10 plus 1/10 times, right? Splitting this at the place value, 2 plus 3/10. And then I can rewrite 4 times the 2 plus 4 times 3/10 plus 1/10 times 2 plus 1/10 times 3/10. And now I can work my way through one at a time. So this is 8 plus 12 with 1 place value plus 2 with 1 place value plus 3 with 2 place values. And now I can add them. So I have 100th there, is the only one. Looking at the tenths, okay, I have 4. Looking at the ones, I have 9. So it's 9 and 43 hundredths. Okay, so what actually happened here? So hopefully you've seen something like this before, a model like this before, and except for the decimal is supposed to be here. Oh no, wait, that's right. All right, so what this is this 2 is applying to this space here. So this would be 2 times 4. What this is applying to is that I've broken off this space here. And that space would be the 4 times 0.3. Okay, this space here is showing 4 times 0.1, and this teeny weeny little space here is the overlap of these and showing that you have to multiply those as well. So 0.1 times 0.3 there. Okay, and then when you have that all done, then you would put them all back together. So what this could look like is, okay, I'm going to erase this so that you can see I can mark off what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Okay, you need to multiply all of these pieces by all of the pieces, and that's what I was showing you in the other one. But this is what it looks like visually. So I'm going to do this box here first. So that's 2 times 4 equals 8. Now I'm going to do this box here, which is 2 times 1/10, which is 2/10. And now I'm going to do this box here, which is 4 times 3/10. Okay, and then we're going to do this box here, which is 1/10 times 3/10. Okay, with the 2 place values. And now I can add them back up. So I have the 3, I have the 4 and the tenths, and then I have 9. Okay, so what I want you to do, you're going to draw a model like this in your notebook. So I want you to pause. I want you to draw a model for this equation. And then come back. Okay, so I have here, there's a 2 and there's a 2. This is the decimal 2, and then I have 3 and this is 4/10. Okay, and now I'm going to make sure I multiply all of the parts together. So I'm starting here. 2 times 3 equals 6. Then I'm going over here. I have 2 times 4/10 is equal to 8/10. I'm going to come here and I have 3 times 2/10, which is equal to 6/10. And then I'm going to come down here and multiply 2/10 by 4/10. And that is going to be equal to 8/100, because we have the 1, 2 decimal places. Okay, notice how I lined them up in columns as I went. And so the answer here, okay, looking at my hundredths, is 8. Looking at my tenths, okay, so that's going to be 14. And now I have 7. So I have 7 and 48 hundredths. Okay, if you're struggling with this part, just replay this part of the video. But I'm going to show you another way that you can do this. And this should look very similar to the multiplication charts that you used as a kid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4, and I'm going to put it here. I'm going to use a different color. Easier to see. Okay, I have my 4, and then I have my 1/10. Okay, and now I'm going to split up by my place value here as well. So what happens here, okay, remember I go over my column and I go down my row and I multiply 2 by 4, which is 8. And then I'm going to go over my column, multiply, and this is going to be 1 and 2/10. And now I have 2/10, and then I have 12 hundredths. And then I can add these pieces all back together. So I take 8 plus 1. There we go, plus. And I can just add them all back together. Oops, that's a 9. Okay, I want you to try that now for this problem here. So I have 6 decimal 3 times 4 decimal 7. Give that one a go. All right, make sure you pause the video and you try it. Okay, so what this looks like, this is 24, right? And I like being able to see the lines. 7 times 6 is 42. And I have 1 decimal place there. This is 12, and I have 1 decimal place there. And this is going to be 21, and I'm going to have 2 decimal places there. And then I'm going to add these back up, lining up my numbers in their place value. It's really important to have in math, I think, a math workbook that has grid paper so that it's easier to line things up. And that's 8, 9, and this is, so it's 29.61. And you can do this with all numbers ranging, even if I had more numbers here and I had a 0.02. You can just keep extending that chart. All right, so you're gonna work in your workbook. So you're gonna do questions 1 to 4. Just when you're looking at questions 2 and 3, you're gonna be using the rule that you developed in a previous lesson, okay? So in order to place the decimal point, you're going to use those skills in placing the decimal point, okay? As well, on question 4, you're going to be rounding. So remember, it's easier if you take one number and you round down, you're going to become more accurate, and you take one number and you round it up. Okay, you're going to end up with a more accurate answer for an estimate. All right.